The glass doors of Harmony Piano Gallery opened with a soft chime. Marcus Chen stepped inside, his old sneakers making quiet sounds on the shiny marble floor. He wore a faded blue jacket that had seen better days. The zipper was broken at the bottom. His jeans had a small hole near the knee. On his back, he carried a brown backpack that looked like it had traveled many miles. The store was beautiful. Tall windows let in bright afternoon sunlight. The light made the pianos shine like jewels. There were pianos everywhere. Big ones, small ones, black ones, and brown ones. Some cost more than a car. Some cost more than a house. 3 salespeople stood near the back of the store. They wore expensive suits and dresses. Their shoes were polished and perfect. When they saw Marcus walk in, they looked at each other. One woman raised her eyebrow. A man in a grey suit smiled a little smile. They had seen people like Marcus before. People who came in to look but never to buy. Marcus did not notice their looks. He walked slowly through the store. His eyes moved from piano to piano. He stopped at a small red piano in the corner. He touched it gently. Then he moved to a white piano near the window. His fingers ran along the smooth top. He looked at each piano like he was greeting an old friend. In the center of the store stood the most beautiful piano of all. It was a Steinway grand piano. The wood was so black it looked like a mirror. The keys were white and cream-colored. They looked perfect. Not a single scratch. Not a single mark. A small sign next to it said the price. It was $150,000. Marcus walked toward this piano. He moved slowly, carefully. He did not want to bump into anything. When he reached it, he stopped. He stood very still. He just looked at it for a long moment. Then, very gently, he reached out his hand. His fingers touched the side of the piano. The wood felt cool and smooth. Derek was the youngest salesperson in the store. He was 24 years old. He had worked there for only 6 months. He wore a black suit that his mother had bought him. His hair was neat and slicked back. He thought he knew everything about pianos and people who bought them. Derek watched Marcus touch the expensive piano. He shook his head a little. Then he walked over. His shoes clicked on the floor. "Can I help you?" he asked. His voice was not friendly. It was not mean either. It was the voice of someone doing their job, but not really caring. Marcus turned around. He smiled. "Yes," he said quietly. "Can I try this one?" He pointed at the Steinway. Derek wanted to say no. He looked at Marcus's old clothes. He looked at the worn backpack. He thought about the price of the piano. $150,000. He was sure Marcus could not afford it. But the store had a rule. Anyone could try the pianos. Anyone at all, sure, Derek said. He tried to sound nice, but his eyes told a different story. "Go ahead." Marcus nodded his thanks. He took off his backpack and set it down carefully on the floor. He unzipped his jacket and put it on top of the backpack. Under the jacket, he wore a simple white t-shirt. There was a small coffee stain on the front. Near the front of the store, a couple was looking at digital keyboards. The woman wore a fur coat even though it was not very cold outside. The man wore a watch that cost more than most people made in a year. They glanced at Marcus. They whispered something to each other. Then they laughed quietly. An older salesman named Richard stood by the window. He was reading something on his phone. He looked up when he saw Marcus sit at the Steinway. He elbowed the woman next to him. Her name was Jennifer. She sold more pianos than anyone else in the store. She looked over at Marcus and smiled a tired smile. She had seen this before. Someone would sit down. They would play Happy Birthday or Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. Then they would leave. Marcus adjusted the piano bench. He moved it back, just a little bit. Then forward, then back again. He was looking for the perfect distance. His face was serious. He looked like he was getting ready for something important. He sat down fully. His back was straight. His shoulders were relaxed. He looked at the keys for a long moment. He did not touch them yet, he just looked. Derek stood a few feet away. He crossed his arms. He was already thinking about other things, about his lunch break, about the date he had planned for Friday night. He expected this to be over in a minute. The couple with the expensive clothes had moved closer. They were not even pretending to look at keyboards anymore. They were watching Marcus, waiting, ready to be entertained by whatever simple song he would play. Jennifer put her phone away. Richard set down the papers he was holding. Even they were curious now. There was something about the way Marcus sat. Something about how still he was. How focused. The store had other customers too. A young woman with headphones around her neck browsed the sheet music in the back. A father and his small daughter looked at a pink piano made for children. An old man sat on a chair near the door, just resting his feet. The air conditioning hummed softly. Someone's phone buzzed. Outside, cars drove past the window. The world kept moving. But inside the piano store, everything began to slow down. Everyone began to pay attention to the man at the Steinway. The man in the old jacket. The man they thought was just another regular customer. Marcus closed his eyes. He took a deep breath. His hands rose slowly. They moved toward the keys. His fingers were rough. There were calluses on the tips. These were not the hands of someone who had never worked. These were not soft hands. They were strong hands. Hands that had done things. Hands that had felt things. His fingers hovered just above the keys. They did not touch yet. The moment stretched out. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3. Derek shifted his weight from one foot to the other. He was already getting bored. Then Marcus's fingers came down on the keys. The first note rang out into the quiet store. It was a single note, clear, perfect, beautiful. It seemed to fill every corner of the room. It touched the high ceiling. It floated past the windows. It settled into everyone's chest. Then came the second note, and the third. And suddenly, the store was no longer quiet. Derek's mouth opened slightly, his arms uncrossed, his eyes went wide. Something was happening, something no one expected, something that would change everything. The music that came from the piano was not simple. It was not Happy Birthday. It was not Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. It was something else, something powerful, something that made the air in the room feel different. Marcus's fingers moved across the keys like water flowing down a river, fast but smooth, strong but gentle. His left hand played deep, rich notes. His right hand danced over the higher keys. The two hands worked together like they were having a conversation. A beautiful conversation that needed no words. Derek stood frozen. His clipboard slipped from his hands. It hit the floor with a loud clap. But Derek did not bend down to pick it up. He could not move. He could only stare. His mouth was still open. He looked like someone had just told him the world was ending. The couple in the expensive clothes stopped walking. The woman's hand was reaching for another keyboard. But it stopped in mid-air. Her fingers stayed there, frozen, pointing at nothing. Her husband's eyes were locked on Marcus. The smile was gone from his face. Now he looked serious. Now he looked like he was in church. Jennifer, the top salesperson, felt something strange in her chest. It was like her heart was beating differently. The music wrapped around her. It made her think of things she had forgotten. Her first piano lesson when she was 6 years old. The way her grandmother used to hum while cooking. The day she fell in love. All these memories came rushing back, carried on the notes from the Steinway. Richard pulled his reading glasses off his face. He wiped his eyes quickly. Was he crying? Maybe, just a little. He had sold pianos for 30 years. He had heard thousands of people play. But this was different. This was special. The young woman in the back with the headphones heard the music. She pulled the headphones off her ears. The sheet music in her hand fell to the floor. She moved closer to see who was playing. Her feet moved without her telling them to. The father and his little daughter stopped looking at the pink piano. The little girl tugged on her father's hand. "Daddy," she whispered. "Listen," the father nodded. He picked up his daughter so she could see better. They both watched Marcus. The old man who had been resting by the door sat up straight. His tired eyes became bright. He leaned forward in his chair. He knew this music. He had heard it many, many years ago, in a concert hall before the war, before his wife died, before everything changed. And now, here it was again, like a gift. Like a memory made real. Marcus's eyes were closed. His whole body moved with the music. When the notes went high, his shoulders lifted. When the notes went low, he swayed down. His foot pressed the pedals. The sounds became softer, then louder, then softer again. He controlled everything. Every single sound. Every single feeling. The music was Rachmaninoff. Piano Concerto No. 3. One of the hardest pieces ever written for piano. Most professional pianists spent years learning it. Some never learned it at all. It was too difficult, too fast, too complicated. The fingers had to move in ways that seemed impossible. The brain had to think about 10 different things at once. But Marcus played it like he was breathing, like it was easy, like it was the most natural thing in the world. His fingers flew across the keys. Sometimes they moved so fast, they were just a blur, but every note was perfect. Every note was exactly right. Not one mistake, not one hesitation. Outside the store, people walking by stopped. They heard the music through the glass. A teenager on a skateboard jumped off his board. He stood by the window. He pulled out his phone and started recording. His mouth was open in surprise. More people came. An old woman with a shopping bag. A businessman talking on his phone. 2 teenagers holding hands. They all gathered by the window. Some of them came inside. They stood near the door. They did not want to get too close. They did not want to disturb whatever magic was happening. The store that had been half empty was now full. People pressed against each other. Everyone trying to see. Everyone trying to hear. The music pulled them in like a magnet. Like a rope. Like a call they could not ignore. Derek finally moved. He stepped backward. He bumped into a display of piano books. They fell over, but he did not care. He just kept staring at Marcus. His face showed so many feelings: surprise, shame, wonder, confusion. How could he have been so wrong? How could he have looked at this man and seen nothing special? Jennifer walked closer to the piano. Her heels clicked softly. She moved like she was in a dream. She had been selling pianos in this store for 12 years. She thought she knew everything about music, but she was learning something new right now. She was learning that music was not about the piano. It was not about the price tag. It was about the person, about the heart, about the soul. The music changed. It became softer, sweeter. This was a different part of the piece. A part that sounded like someone whispering a secret. Like someone telling you everything would be okay. Marcus's fingers touched the keys so gently now. Like he was petting a cat. Like he was touching something precious. The little girl in her father's arms started to cry. Not sad crying, happy crying. She did not understand why. She was only 5 years old. But the music made her feel something big. Something too big for her little body. Her father felt tears on his own face too. He held his daughter tighter. The businessman who had come in from outside forgot about his phone call. The person on the other end was saying, "Hello, hello, are you there?" But he did not hear them. He just stood there, listening, feeling, being changed by what he heard. Then the music grew again, louder, faster, more powerful. Marcus's hands moved like lightning. The notes came out like rain in a storm, like wind, like fire. His whole body was part of the music now. He rocked back and forth. His head moved side to side. Sweat appeared on his forehead. But his face looked peaceful. It looked happy. It looked like he was exactly where he was supposed to be. The Steinway piano sang. That is the only word for it. It did not just make sound, it sang. Every note was pure and clear and beautiful. The piano had been waiting for someone like Marcus. Someone who knew how to wake it up. Someone who knew how to make it tell its story. Richard walked slowly to his office. Not because he wanted to leave, but because he needed to get something. He opened a drawer in his desk. He pulled out his phone. His hands were shaking. He started recording the music. This had to be saved. This had to be remembered. Patricia, the store manager, sat in her office upstairs. She was working on papers. Boring papers about sales and inventory. Then she heard the music. At first, she thought someone had turned on the radio. But no, this was live. This was real. This was happening in her store. She stood up fast. Her chair rolled backward and hit the wall. She rushed to the door. She opened it and stepped onto the balcony that overlooked the showroom. From up there, she could see everything. The crowd, the frozen salespeople, the man at the piano. Patricia's hand went to her mouth. She gasped. No, it could not be, but it was. She knew that profile. She knew those hands. Even from up high, even after all these years. Her heart started beating very fast. She gripped the balcony railing. Her knees felt weak. This was impossible. But it was happening. It was really happening. The music reached its peak, the highest point, the loudest moment. Marcus's hands flew across the entire keyboard, from the lowest notes to the highest. Back and forth, faster than seemed possible. The sound filled every inch of the store. It spilled out onto the street. It rose up to the sky. And then, suddenly, it stopped. The last note hung in the air. It floated there like a bird. Then it faded away, gone, but not really gone. It stayed in everyone's hearts. In their minds, in that space where beautiful things live forever. Marcus kept his hands on the keys. He did not move. He sat with his eyes still closed. His chest moved up and down. He was breathing hard, like he had just run a race. But there was a small smile on his face. A peaceful smile. Nobody made a sound. The store was silent. So silent, you could hear the air conditioning. So silent, you could hear someone's watch ticking. So silent, you could hear hearts beating. The silence lasted for 5 seconds, then 10, then 15. It felt like time had stopped. Like the whole world was holding its breath. Then someone started clapping. It was the old man by the door. His old hands came together. Clap, clap, clap. The sound broke the spell. Suddenly, everyone was clapping. The room exploded with noise. People clapped and clapped. Some people shouted. Bravo! Amazing! Beautiful! The teenager outside with his phone was still recording. His video showed the crowd going crazy. He could not believe what he had just witnessed. He saved the video immediately. This was going on social media. This was going everywhere. The businessman started clapping so hard his hands hurt. The young woman with the headphones had tears running down her face. She wiped them away, but more came. The father put his daughter down and clapped until his palms were red. The little girl clapped too, even though her small hands did not make much sound. Derek stood there looking lost. He brought his hands together slowly. Clap, clap. His face was red. He felt so ashamed. He had judged this man. He had looked at him with disrespect. He had treated him like he was nobody. But this man was not nobody. This man was extraordinary. Jennifer clapped with tears in her eyes too. She had goosebumps on her arms. She had goosebumps on her legs. She had never felt like this in the store before. Never. She sold pianos, but she had forgotten what pianos could really do. What music could really do. This man had reminded her. Richard clapped and laughed at the same time. He looked at his phone to make sure it had recorded everything. It had good. He would watch this video every day. Every single day. For the rest of his life. More people came in from outside. The clapping had drawn them. They did not know what had happened, but they could feel it. They could feel that something special had occurred. They clapped too. Marcus finally opened his eyes. He looked surprised. He looked around at all the people. When had all these people arrived? There had been only a few people when he started. Now the store was packed. Completely full. People stood shoulder to shoulder. Some people were pressed against the windows. He stood up slowly. He looked confused. He had been somewhere else when he played. Somewhere in the music. Somewhere far away. Now he was back. Back in the real world. And the real world was very loud and very full. People kept clapping. Some people whistled. The teenager outside posted his video. Within seconds, people started liking it, commenting, sharing. Who is this guy? This is insane. Where is this? The video started spreading across the internet like wildfire. An elderly couple pushed through the crowd. The woman was crying. The man held her hand tight. They walked right up to Marcus. "Thank you," the woman said. Her voice shook. "That piece. That beautiful piece. That was our wedding song 52 years ago. We danced to it at our reception. I have not heard it in so long. So long. Thank you for bringing it back to us." Marcus's eyes got shiny. He nodded. He did not trust his voice to work. He took the woman's hand and squeezed it gently. The old man by the door stood up. He walked over slowly. His legs were stiff, but he made it to Marcus. "Young man," he said. His voice was rough, old. "I heard Rachmaninoff himself play that piece. In 1938, I was just a boy. My father took me. I never forgot it. What you did, just now, it was just as good, maybe better. You have a gift from God." Marcus shook the old man's hand. "Thank you, sir," he managed to say. "That means everything." Patricia stood on the balcony above. She had not moved. She had not clapped. She just stared. Her mind was racing. She knew who this was. She was almost sure, but it had been so long. 15 years. People change in 15 years. But the way he played, that had not changed. That could never change. She made a decision. She had to know for sure. She walked quickly down the stairs. She moved through the crowd. People were still talking, still exclaiming, still processing what they had witnessed. "Excuse me," Patricia said, as she pushed through. "Excuse me, please." Her voice was shaky. Her hands were shaking too. Derek saw her coming. He stepped aside. He had never seen his boss look like this. She looked pale. She looked excited. She looked scared. Patricia reached Marcus. She stood in front of him. He was taller than her. She had to look up. She studied his face, his eyes, his features. Yes, it was him, older, thinner, more tired. But it was definitely him. "Are you?" she started, then stopped. She took a breath. "Are you Marcus Chen?" The room got quiet again. People stopped talking. Everyone listened. Marcus Chen. That name sounded familiar to some people. Where had they heard it? Marcus looked at Patricia. Really looked at her. His face showed many emotions: surprise, fear, resignation. Finally, he nodded. "Yes," he said quietly. "I am." The room erupted again, but this time, it was not clapping, it was gasps, it was whispers. It was people pulling out their phones to search the name. Marcus Chen. Marcus Chen. Who was Marcus Chen? The young woman found it first. She read from her phone out loud. Marcus Chen. Piano prodigy. Disappeared from concert circuit 15 years ago after family tragedy. Was called the greatest talent of his generation. Last performance was at Carnegie Hall at age 19. People searched more. They found old videos. Young Marcus playing just a teenager. Already brilliant. Already perfect. Articles about his parents dying in a car accident. Articles wondering where he had gone. Why he had stopped playing. If he would ever come back. "I saw you play," one man shouted from the back. "I saw you in Chicago. 20 years ago, you were just a kid. You made grown men cry." "I cried. I never forgot it." "I have your album," another woman said. "I have all your albums. I listen to them when I cook, when I clean, when I need to feel something beautiful. You are the reason I started taking piano lessons." Marcus looked overwhelmed. He had thought he was invisible. He had thought his old clothes and his tired face made him invisible. He had thought he could just slip into this store, play a little, and slip out. But he had been wrong. Derek wanted to disappear. He wanted the floor to open up and swallow him. He had been rude to Marcus Chen. To Marcus Chen, one of the greatest pianists in the world. One of the best who ever lived. And Derek had looked at him like he was garbage, like he was nothing. Jennifer touched Derek's arm. "Do not feel bad," she whispered. "We all did it. We all judged him." But Derek did feel bad. He felt terrible. He had learned something today. Something important. You cannot judge a book by its cover. You cannot judge a person by their clothes. You never know who someone is. You never know what they can do, what they have been through, what they carry inside them. The teenager's video had now been shared thousands of times. News vans were already on their way to the store. Local reporters, maybe national reporters. This was a big story. Marcus Chen had returned, and he had returned in the most unexpected way possible. Patricia stood very close to Marcus. "Why?" she asked him softly. "Why did you stop? Where have you been?" Marcus looked at her, then at the crowd, all these people, all these eyes, all waiting for an answer. Marcus looked at all the faces staring at him. So many people, so many questions in their eyes. He had not wanted this. He had just wanted to play, to feel the keys under his fingers, to remember what it felt like. That was all. Just that one simple thing. But nothing was simple anymore. It never had been. Not since the accident. Not since that terrible night 15 years ago when everything changed. When his whole world ended and a new, darker world began. He took a deep breath. He owed these people something. They had listened to his music. They had felt something. Maybe he owed them the truth, or at least part of it. "Can I sit down?" Marcus asked. His voice was quiet, tired. "Of course," Patricia said quickly. She grabbed a chair from near the wall. Derek rushed to help. He carried the chair over and placed it behind Marcus. Marcus sat down gratefully. His legs felt weak. Playing always took so much out of him. Not just physical energy, emotional energy too, soul energy. The crowd pressed closer, but not too close. They gave him space. They sensed he was fragile, like a bird with a broken wing that had learned to fly again. You did not grab a bird like that, you let it be. Marcus put his hands on his knees. He looked at the floor for a moment. Then he began to speak. 15 years ago, he said, I was on top of the world. I was young, 19 years old. I had everything. Fame, success, money. People loved me. They came to my concerts. They bought my albums. They said I was the future of classical piano. He paused. His voice got softer. But I was also tired. So tired. I had been performing since I was 5 years old. My parents pushed me. They meant well. They really did. They believed in my talent. They gave up everything so I could have lessons with the best teachers, so I could travel, so I could perform. An old woman in the crowd nodded. She understood. Sacrifice. Parents made sacrifices. I had a concert in New York, Marcus continued. At Carnegie Hall, it was the biggest concert of my life, sold out. 2,000 people. My parents were so proud. After the concert, we went to dinner, we celebrated. Then we drove home. His voice cracked a little. He cleared his throat. It was raining. The roads were wet. A truck ran a red light. It hit our car on the driver's side. Where my father was sitting, where my mother was sitting behind him, the room was so quiet, so painfully quiet. Some people had already guessed what was coming, but hearing it was different. Hearing it in his voice made it real, made it hurt. They died that night, Marcus said simply. Both of them, instantly. The doctors said they did not suffer. I hope that is true. I was in the back seat on the passenger side. I only got some cuts and bruises, nothing serious, nothing physical. He touched his chest, over his heart. But in here, I was broken. Completely broken. My parents had been my whole world. They were at every concert, every practice, every lesson. They believed in me when I did not believe in myself, and then they were gone. Just gone. Tears ran down many faces in the crowd. The elderly couple who had danced to Rachmaninoff held each other. The father with the little girl bent down and kissed his daughter's head. Grateful she was safe. Grateful she was alive. After the funeral, Marcus said, I tried to play. I went to the piano in our house. I sat down. I put my hands on the keys, and I could not do it. I could not play a single note. Every time I tried, I saw their faces. I heard my mother saying, beautiful, Marcus, beautiful. I heard my father saying that is my son, and the pain was too much to bear. Jennifer was crying openly now. She did not try to hide it. Richard had his hand over his mouth. Derek stared at Marcus with wide eyes. He understood now. He understood everything. So I stopped, Marcus said. I cancelled all my concerts. I gave back all my contracts. I told my agent I was done. He tried to change my mind. He said I was throwing away my career, my future, but I did not care. Without my parents, none of it mattered. The music had been for them. My success had been for them. And without them, what was the point? Patricia knelt down next to his chair. What did you do? She asked gently. Where did you go? Marcus smiled a sad smile. I disappeared. I moved to a small town upstate, a place where nobody knew me. I got a job tuning pianos. I taught a few students. Kids mostly, beginners. I lived a quiet life, a simple life. I thought I would never perform again. Never even play for pleasure. The piano reminded me too much of what I had lost. But you are playing now, someone in the crowd said. You played today. Why today? Marcus looked up. He looked at the beautiful Steinway he had just played. Today is the anniversary, he said. 15 years exactly since my last concert at Carnegie Hall. 15 years since the accident. I woke up this morning, and I felt something. Something I had not felt in a long time. I felt like, maybe, just maybe, I could touch a piano again. Not for a concert, not for money or fame, just for me. Just to see if I still could. He gestured around the store. I picked this place randomly. I was driving by, I saw the pianos in the window. I parked, I came in. I thought I would try one piano, play for 2 minutes, then leave. I did not expect anyone to care. I did not expect anyone to listen. I certainly did not expect anyone to recognize me. But we did listen, the old man said from across the room. And we will never forget it. What you shared with us today. That was a gift. Marcus shook his head. I am not sure I gave you anything. I think maybe you gave me something. You reminded me why I fell in love with music in the first place. Not because of concerts or fame. But because of this connection, this moment when a sound touches a heart, when notes become feelings, when the piano stops being wood and strings and becomes something alive. Patricia had tears streaming down her face. She had known this story. She had read about it years ago, but hearing it from him, seeing his face, that was completely different. She wanted to help him. She wanted to give him something back. Marcus, she said. What if you played here again? Not a concert. Nothing fancy. Just you and a piano, and whoever wants to listen. Every Saturday. No pressure. No publicity, unless you want it. Just music. Marcus looked at her, then at the crowd. They were all nodding. Yes, please, come back, play for us again. I do not know, Marcus said slowly. I am not that person anymore. That young man who played Carnegie Hall, he is gone. Maybe, Patricia said. But there is a new person here. An older person. A person who has suffered. Who has survived. That person might have even more to say through music. Even more to give. The crowd murmured their agreement. The teenager who had filmed everything spoke up from near the door. Sir, he said, my video has been shared 50,000 times already. People are going crazy. They want to see you. They want to hear you play. Not because you are famous, but because you are real. Because your story is real. Because your music is real. Marcus felt something shift inside him. A tiny crack in the wall he had built around his heart. Light coming through. Small light, but light nonetheless. He thought about his parents. What would they want? Would they want him to hide forever? Would they want him to waste his gift? No. They would want him to live. They would want him to share what he could do. They would want the music to continue. Every Saturday, Marcus asked Patricia. Every Saturday, she confirmed. If you want, no cameras, he asked. Well, Patricia smiled a little. I cannot promise that, not anymore, but no professional cameras. No press, just regular people with their phones. Just people who love music. Marcus stood up. His legs were steadier now. He looked at the Steinway piano. His fingers remembered how it felt. How each key responded. How the sound bloomed in the air. Maybe he could do this. Maybe he could try. Okay, he said finally. I will try, just for a little while. We will see how it goes. The crowd exploded with joy, clapping, cheering, whooping. Some people jumped up and down. The little girl clapped her hands over her head. The elderly couple hugged each other tight. Derek felt hope bloom in his chest. He had witnessed something today, something that changed him. He would never judge anyone by their appearance again, ever. He promised himself that. He promised the universe that. And Marcus Chen, the man who had been lost for 15 years, felt something he thought was gone forever. He felt purpose. He felt connection. He felt like maybe, just maybe, he could learn to play, not for his parents, but for himself. And for all these beautiful, broken, hopeful people who needed music just as much as he did. The crowd slowly began to leave. But nobody really wanted to go. They lingered. They talked in small groups. They took pictures of the Steinway where Marcus had played. Some people asked Marcus for autographs. He signed them, though his hand shook a little. He was not used to this anymore. He had forgotten how to be a public person. The teenager with the phone approached Marcus shyly. Mr. Chen, he said. My name is Tyler. I am a music student. Piano. I have been playing for 8 years. I am not very good. But watching you today, that changed something in me. It made me want to practice more. To try harder. Thank you. Marcus smiled at the young man. A real smile. Keep playing, he said. Not because you want to be great, but because it makes you feel something. That is the only reason that matters. Tyler nodded. His eyes were bright. He would remember this day forever. The day he met Marcus Chen, the day he learned what music could really be. Patricia stood near her office door. She watched Marcus interact with people. He looked tired but also lighter somehow. Like a weight had been lifted. Even just a little bit. She had done the right thing, asking him to come back. She knew it in her bones. Derek approached Marcus nervously. His face was still red with shame. Mr. Chen, he said. His voice was small. I need to apologize. When you came in, I judged you. I looked at your clothes and I thought you were not important. I am so sorry. I was wrong. I was so wrong. Marcus looked at the young man. He saw the genuine regret in his eyes. It is okay, Marcus said kindly. You did not know? None of you knew. That is the thing about people. We all carry invisible stories. We all have hidden depths. You learned something today. That is what matters. Derek felt tears prick his eyes. I will never forget this, he said. Never. Good, Marcus said. Use it, be kinder. Be more curious. Look deeper. The world needs more of that. Derek nodded hard. He shook Marcus's hand. The handshake lasted a long time. A connection between two people. One who had learned a lesson. One who had taught it. Jennifer came over next. She did not apologize. Instead, she said, Marcus, I have been selling pianos for 12 years. I love pianos. But today, I remembered why I love them. Because of what they can do. What they can create. What they can give to the world. Thank you for reminding me. Marcus nodded. Pianos are just wood and strings until someone plays them. Then, they become magic. You sell the wood and strings. But the magic, that comes from the heart. Jennifer smiled. She would think about those words every day. Every time she sold a piano, she would remember. She would tell the buyer about the magic. About what was possible. The elderly couple who had danced to Rachmaninoff came over. The woman was still crying softly. Young man, she said, you gave us our wedding day back. Just for a few minutes, we were young again. We were dancing in that old hall. My dress was white. His suit was new. Everything was ahead of us. Everything was possible. You gave us that memory. Made it real again. How can we ever thank you? Marcus felt his own eyes fill with tears. You just did, he said. Stories like yours. That is why music exists. To carry us back. To carry us forward. to make us feel connected to our lives, to each other. The old man shook Marcus's hand with both of his hands. You have been through pain, he said. I can see it. I have been through pain too. We all have. But you took your pain and made it into beauty. That is the bravest thing a person can do. Marcus had to look away. He could not speak. The words were too kind. True, he just nodded. More people came to say thank you, to share their stories. A woman said she had been thinking about quitting piano lessons. Now she would keep going. A man said he had not listened to classical music in years. Now he would start again. A girl said she wanted to be a pianist when she grew up. Just like Marcus, each story was a gift. Each story was a reminder. Music mattered. Art mattered. Beauty mattered. Especially in a world that was often hard and cruel and sad. Beauty was not extra. It was not decoration. It was necessary. It was survival. After an hour, most people had left. The store was quiet again. Just Patricia, Derek, Jennifer, Richard, and Marcus. They sat in chairs near the Steinway, tired, happy, changed. So, Patricia said, next Saturday, same time, 2 o'clock. Does that work for you? Marcus thought about it. He thought about his small apartment, his quiet life, his daily routines. Could he add this? Could he open this door? Yes, he said finally. 2 o'clock. I will be here. What will you play? Jennifer asked. Marcus shrugged. I do not know yet. Whatever feels right. Maybe I will take requests. Maybe I will just see what my fingers want to do. I have not planned music in 15 years. I am not sure I remember how. That is perfect, Patricia said. No planning. No pressure. Just you and the piano. That is all anyone wants. Richard had been quiet. Now he spoke. Marcus, he said, I recorded you today. On my phone. Is that okay? I wanted to save it. To remember. If you want me to delete it, I will. I understand. Marcus thought about it. Part of him wanted to say, yes, delete it. Keep it private. Keep it small. But another part of him, a growing part, thought maybe it was okay. Maybe the music was meant to be shared. Maybe his parents would want it shared. Keep it, he said. But maybe do not post it online. Not yet. Let us see how this goes first. Richard nodded. Of course. It is just for me. For my own memory. Derek had been sitting quietly. Now he stood up. Mr. Chen, he said, can I ask you something? How do you do it? How do you play like that? Is it just talent? Just practice? What is the secret? Marcus smiled. There is no secret, he said. It is hours and hours of practice. Yes, it is talent, yes, but more than that, it is love. You have to love it so much that you are willing to suffer for it. To sacrifice for it, to give up everything else. And even then, even if you do all that, you might not be great. But you will be real. And real is better than great. Derek absorbed those words. He nodded slowly. He understood. Or at least he was beginning to. Marcus stood up. He stretched. His back was sore. His fingers were tired. He picked up his old jacket and put it on. He picked up his worn backpack. He looked like a regular customer again. Nobody special, just a man in old clothes. But everyone in that room knew differently now. They knew what was inside that man. What he carried. What he could do. Appearances meant nothing. The surface meant nothing. The truth was underneath. Always underneath. I should go, Marcus said. I have a long drive. Where do you live? Patricia asked. About 2 hours north, Marcus said. A small town called Millbrook. You have probably never heard of it. Will you be okay driving? Jennifer asked. You look tired. I will be fine, Marcus said. I need the quiet time. The thinking time. Today was a lot. They walked him to the door. Outside, the sun was setting. The sky was orange and pink. Beautiful. Marcus stepped out onto the sidewalk. He turned back. Thank you, he said. For listening. For caring. For giving me a reason to play again. Thank you, Patricia said. For trusting us. For sharing your gift. See you next Saturday. Marcus nodded. He walked to his old car parked down the street. It was a beat-up Honda, probably 20 years old. It looked like it might break down at any moment. He got in and started the engine. It coughed and sputtered, but then caught. He waved once. Then he drove away. The four people stood in front of the store, watching his car disappear into traffic. None of them spoke for a long moment. Finally, Derek said, "That was the most important day of my life." "Mine too," Jennifer said. Richard and Patricia nodded. It was true. Something had happened today. Something rare. Something precious. They had been part of a moment. A true moment. The kind that changes you. The kind you measure your life by. Before and after. Inside the store, the Steinways sat silent, waiting. Waiting for Saturday. Waiting for Marcus to come back. Waiting to sing again. Saturday came faster than Marcus expected. The week had felt strange. Different. He had gone back to his small apartment in Millbrook. Back to his quiet life. But something had changed. The air felt different. The silence felt different. Even the piano in his living room, the old upright he never touched, felt different. He had looked at that piano every day for 15 years. It sat against the wall like a piece of furniture. Like a bookshelf or a table. Just something that was there. But this week, he had actually seen it. Really seen it. And on Friday night, he had done something he had not done in 15 years. He had sat down at it. He had lifted the cover off the keys, and he had played. Just for 10 minutes, nothing fancy. Some scales, some simple melodies, but his heart had beaten fast the whole time, his hands had shaken. It had felt like touching something holy, something forbidden, something dangerous and beautiful all at once. Now it was Saturday afternoon, 1:30. He had to leave soon to make it to the piano store by 2 o'clock. He stood in front of his closet. What should he wear? Last week, he had worn his old jacket and jeans without thinking. But today felt different. Today was planned. Today was a promise. He pulled out a nicer shirt. A button-up blue. Then he put it back. No, that felt wrong, like he was trying to be someone he was not. He pulled on his usual clothes, a t-shirt, jeans, the same old jacket. This was who he was now, simple, regular, real. He grabbed his backpack. He checked to make sure he had his wallet, his keys, then he stopped. He went back to his bedroom. He opened his closet and reached up to the top shelf. His hand found a small box. He had not opened this box in years. He brought it down, opened it. Inside was a picture, his parents, young, smiling, standing on either side of a young Marcus at a piano. He was maybe 10 years old in the picture. His first competition, he had won first place. His parents looked so proud, so happy. Marcus touched the picture. "I am playing again," he whispered. "I hope that is okay. I hope you do not mind. I am doing it differently this time. Doing it for me, and maybe for others. But not for fame, not for success, just for the music, just for the love of it." He put the picture in his jacket pocket, close to his heart. Then he left. The drive to the city was long, 2 hours. He listened to the radio. Then turned it off. Then turned it on again. He was nervous. Very nervous. What if nobody came? What if the magic from last week was a one-time thing? What if he sat down to play and nothing happened? What if his fingers forgot? What if he forgot? He arrived at the piano store at 1:15 minutes early. He parked his car and sat for a moment. He could see the store from here. He could see people. Lots of people. They were lined up outside the door, waiting. Marcus's heart sank. Oh no, this was too much. Too many people. He had thought it would be small, intimate. Just a few people who happened to be in the store. But this was a crowd. A real crowd. He almost started his car and drove away. Almost. But then he thought about Patricia, about her kind face, about Derek, learning his lesson, about the elderly couple and their wedding song. He thought about Tyler, the young music student. He thought about his parents. Be brave, he told himself. Just be brave for 2 hours. You can do that. He got out of the car. He walked toward the store. People saw him coming. They recognized him. They started clapping, calling his name, Marcus. "We are here. We came back." Marcus felt his face get hot. He smiled nervously. He waved a little wave. Patricia saw him from inside the store. She rushed to the door and opened it. "Marcus," she said, come in, we have been waiting." He stepped inside, and the crowd outside cheered. Patricia locked the door behind him. "We had to start a line," she explained. "People have been calling all week." The video spread everywhere. Millions of views. "Everyone wants to see you play. We can only fit about 100 people inside. We are letting them in groups of 20 at a time. Is that okay?" Marcus felt dizzy. Millions of views, 100 people, groups of 20. This was not what he had agreed to. This was too big, way too big. Patricia saw the panic on his face. "Marcus," she said gently, "I know this is not what you expected. I know it is scary, but look at their faces." Marcus looked out the window. At the people waiting, he saw young people, old people, rich people, poor people, all kinds of people, and their faces. They looked hopeful, excited, happy. They were not there to judge him. They were there to receive something, to be given a gift, the gift of music, the gift of beauty. "You do not have to do this," Patricia said. "If it is too much, you can leave. I will tell them you are not feeling well. They will understand, or maybe they will not. But it does not matter. You do not owe them anything." Marcus thought about it. He could leave. He could go back to his quiet life, his safe life, but something in him resisted. These people had come here. Some had probably traveled far, taken time off work, paid for parking, just to hear him play, just to experience what that elderly couple had experienced. That connection, that beauty, that moment of magic. And maybe he needed this too. Maybe he needed to prove to himself that last week was not a fluke, that he could still do it, that the music was still inside him, waiting, ready. "I will stay," Marcus said. "But can we make it less formal? No announcements. No introductions. I just want to walk to the piano and play. Like last week. Like I just happened to be here." Patricia smiled. "Of course. Whatever you want, the piano is ready. The same Steinway from last week. We have not let anyone else touch it. It is yours." Marcus nodded. He walked through the store. Derek was there. Jennifer was there. Richard was there. They all smiled at him, encouraging smiles. "You can do this," their faces said. "You can do this." The Steinway stood in the center of the floor, waiting like an old friend. Marcus approached it slowly. He put his backpack down. He took off his jacket. He sat on the bench. He adjusted it, back, forward, back again. Just like last week. Finding the perfect distance, Patricia unlocked the door. The first group of 20 people filed in quietly. They spread out around the store, standing, waiting, silent, respectful. Some had their phones out. Marcus tried not to look at the phones. He tried to just see the people, the faces, the hope. He put his hands on the keys. They felt cool, smooth, familiar. He closed his eyes. He took a breath. What should he play? He had not decided. He had not planned. He had just trusted that when the moment came, he would know. And he did know. His fingers began to move. This time he played Chopin, a nocturne, soft, gentle, beautiful. The notes floated through the store, like butterflies, delicate, graceful. The crowd swayed slightly. Some people closed their eyes. Some people held hands. Marcus felt the tension leave his body. This was right. This was good. He was not performing. He was sharing. There was a difference. A big difference. Performing was about being seen. Sharing was about connecting. And right now, in this moment, he felt connected. To the piano, to the music, to these people he did not know, but somehow understood. He played for 20 minutes. The nocturne led into a waltz. The waltz led into a prelude. One piece flowed into another. His fingers knew where to go. His heart knew what to play. He did not think, he just felt. just moved. Just let the music come through him. When he finished, the crowd applauded. Quiet applause, respectful applause. Then they filed out, smiling, some with tears on their faces, some mouthing thank you to him. He nodded at each one, acknowledging them, thanking them back for listening, for being there, for caring about beauty in a world that often forgot about it. The next group came in. Then the next. Then the next. Marcus played for each group. Different pieces each time. Sometimes fast, sometimes slow, sometimes playful, sometimes sad. He played what he felt they needed, what the moment called for, and somehow he was never wrong. Each group left looking touched, changed, grateful. After 3 hours, everyone had come through. Marcus was exhausted. His fingers were sore. His back ached, but his heart felt full. More full than it had felt in 15 years, maybe ever. Patricia brought him water. That was beautiful, she said. Every single moment, you have a gift, Marcus, not just for playing, but for giving. For sharing, for making people feel. Marcus drank the water. Thank you, he said, for this, for the opportunity, for believing I could do it. Will you come back next week? Patricia asked hopefully. Marcus looked at the piano. At the empty store, at the late afternoon sunlight coming through the windows. Yes, he said. I will come back. The weeks turned into months. Every Saturday at 2 o'clock, Marcus drove his old Honda from Millbrook to the city. Every Saturday, a crowd waited for him, and every Saturday he played. But something was different now. The crowds had changed. In the beginning, many people came because they had heard about Marcus Chen, the famous pianist. They came for the story, for the drama, for the chance to see someone who had been lost and was now found. They came for the spectacle. But those people mostly stopped coming after a few weeks. They got their pictures. They got their videos. They got their story to tell at parties. Then they moved on to the next interesting thing. The next viral moment. The next sensation. The people who kept coming were different. They came for the music. Just the music. They came because Saturday afternoon at Harmony Piano Gallery had become something special, something sacred. A place where the world stopped for a while. A place where beauty was the only thing that mattered. A place where they could feel something real. Marcus had learnt their faces, their names. There was Helen, the retired teacher who always sat in the front. She brought her old sheet music, and sometimes Marcus would play her requests. There was David, the construction worker who came straight from his job site, still wearing his work boots and dusty jeans. He never missed a Saturday. There was little Emma, only 7 years old, who wanted to be a pianist. Her mother brought her every week. Emma always sat on the floor right next to the piano. Her eyes never left Marcus's hands. There was James, who had lost his wife 2 years ago. He said the music helped him remember the good times, helped him feel close to her again. There was Maria, who was going through chemotherapy. She wore colorful scarves on her head and said the music gave her strength to keep fighting. There was old Mr. Patterson, the man who had heard Rachmaninoff play in 1938. He came every single week. He always sat in the same chair. These people became Marcus's community, his family. They understood what he had been through because they had been through things too. Life had broken them all in different ways. But here, in this piano store, for a few hours every Saturday, they were whole. They were healed. They were home. Derek had changed the most. He no longer wore fancy suits. He dressed more casually now. More honestly, he had learned to talk to customers differently. To listen more, to judge less, to see deeper. He had become one of the best salespeople in the store, not because he was pushy, but because he was genuine. People trusted him. They liked him. He often talked to Marcus before and after the performances. He asked questions about music, about life, about how to be better. Marcus always answered honestly. They had become friends, real friends. The kind that started from a lesson learned and grew into something solid, something lasting. Jennifer had started playing piano again herself. She had stopped years ago, thinking she was not good enough. But watching Marcus every week, she realized it was not about being good enough. It was about loving it. About needing it. She practiced every night now. Simple pieces, nothing fancy, but it filled her with joy, real joy. Patricia had expanded the Saturday events. After Marcus played for 3 hours, they would have tea and cookies. People would stay and talk. They would share stories. They would connect. The piano store had become more than a store. It had become a gathering place, a community center, a home for people who loved music and beauty and truth. The local news had done a story on Marcus and the Saturday concerts. But Marcus had insisted on certain conditions. They could not call him a prodigy or a genius. They could not talk about Carnegie Hall or his famous past. They could only call him Marcus, a pianist, a teacher, a person who loved music and wanted to share it. The news station agreed. The story they made was beautiful, simple, honest, just like Marcus wanted. After that story aired, more people came, but they were the right people, people who understood, people who wanted what Marcus was offering, not fame, not spectacle, just connection through music, just beauty, just truth. One Saturday, something special happened. Tyler, the teenager who had filmed Marcus that first day, came to perform. He had been practicing hard for months. Marcus had agreed to let him play one piece for the crowd. Tyler was so nervous, his hands shook. But when he sat at the Steinway and began to play, something magical happened. He was not great. He made mistakes. His timing was off in places. But he played with heart, with feeling, with love. And the crowd applauded just as loud as they did for Marcus. Because they understood, it was not about perfection. It was about sincerity, about courage, about sharing your heart through your hands. After Tyler played, Marcus hugged him. "You did beautifully," he said. "Keep going, keep playing. The world needs your music." Tyler cried. Happy tears, grateful tears. He would remember this moment for the rest of his life. The day Marcus Chen believed in him. The day he learned he was good enough. Not because he was perfect, but because he was brave enough to try. More students began to perform. Young and old. Good and not so good. Marcus encouraged them all. He created a space where trying was celebrated. Where mistakes were okay. Where the only thing that mattered was the attempt. The effort. The love. Marcus also started teaching again. Really teaching. Not just showing students how to move their fingers, but teaching them how to feel, how to listen, how to let the music flow through them instead of forcing it out. His small house in Millbrook became a pilgrimage site for serious students. They came from far away. They stayed for a week or two. They learned not just piano, they learned about life, about loss, about healing, about finding your way back to what you love. The students paid what they could. Some paid a lot. Some paid nothing. Marcus did not care about the money. He had enough from his old royalties, from his albums that still sold. He had enough to live simply, to eat, to pay rent, to keep gas in his old Honda. That was all he needed. One Saturday, 6 months after that first performance, Marcus arrived at the store to find something unexpected. The elderly couple, the ones who had danced to Rachmaninoff at their wedding, were there with something to give him. A painting. They had commissioned an artist to paint Marcus playing the Steinway. The painting was beautiful. It captured not just his face and hands, but the feeling, the emotion, the light, the magic. "We want you to have this," the old woman said. "To remember. To know how much you have given us. You gave us back something precious. Our youth, our love, our hope. This is our thank you." Marcus could not speak, he just hugged them both. The painting hung in Patricia's office. Everyone who came to the store saw it, and everyone who saw it understood. This was not just about a man playing piano. This was about what art could do, what beauty could do, what one person's courage could inspire in others. As winter turned to spring, Marcus made a decision. He would record an album. Not a commercial album. Not something to sell in stores, but something to give to the people who came every Saturday. Something they could take home. Something they could listen to when they needed comfort. When they needed beauty. When they needed to remember that the world still had good things in it. He recorded it in the piano store after hours. Just him and the Steinway and Patricia's old recording equipment. No professional studio. No fancy editing. Just pure, simple, honest music. He played all the pieces he had played on Saturdays. The Rachmaninoff, the Chopin, the simple melodies, the complex ones, everything. When it was done, Patricia made copies. Just CDs. Old-fashioned CDs with a simple label. Saturday Music by Marcus, it said, nothing more. She gave them away for free to everyone who came. People cried when they received them. They clutched them to their chests. They promised to treasure them, and they did. Those CDs became precious things passed down, shared, loved. A year after that first performance, Marcus stood in the piano store on a Saturday afternoon. The crowd was there, his community, his family. He looked at their faces. Helen, David, Emma, James, Maria, Mr. Patterson, Derek, Jennifer, Patricia, Tyler, the elderly couple, so many others. All there, all listening, all connected by something invisible but real. By music, by beauty, by love. He sat at the Steinway. He did not close his eyes this time. He kept them open. He looked at the people, and he smiled. A real smile, a full smile. The smile of someone who had been lost, and had found his way home. Not to fame, not to Carnegie Hall, but to something better, to purpose, to community, to love. His fingers touched the keys, and the music began. Outside the window, the sun shone bright. Cars drove by. People walked past. The world kept moving. But inside the piano store, time stopped. Magic happened. Hearts opened, souls touched. And for those few hours, everything was exactly as it should be. Marcus Chen had walked into this store a year ago wearing old clothes and carrying a worn backpack. People had looked at him and seen nothing special. Just a regular customer, someone to dismiss, someone to ignore, but they had been wrong, so wrong, because inside that regular-looking man was something extraordinary, not just talent, not just skill, but heart, courage, the ability to take pain and transform it into beauty, the willingness to share his deepest self with strangers, the strength to begin again after everything had ended. He had taught them all a lesson. The most important lesson. You cannot judge a book by its cover. You cannot know someone's worth by looking at their clothes or their car or their job. The most valuable things in life are invisible. Love, courage, talent, heart. These things do not show on the outside, but they are real. They are powerful. They change the world. And Marcus Chen, the man they almost ignored, the man they almost dismissed, had changed their world, every single Saturday. One note at a time. One heart at a time. One moment of beauty at a time. The music filled the store. It spilled out onto the street. It rose up to the sky. It traveled to places unknown. And everyone who heard it, everyone who felt it, everyone who let it in, was changed, forever changed. For the better. This was not the ending. This was the beginning. The beginning of something beautiful, something true, something that would last. Not because it was famous, not because it was perfect, but because it was real, because it came from love, because it connected human hearts in a world that so desperately needed connection, and that was enough. More than enough. It was everything.